Welcome into the Energy Tech Podcast presented by Offsite Energy. Today we're filming live from ENTELEC 2026, and we are excited to welcome Stewart McCone, founder and CEO of VideoSoft. Guys, welcome to Galveston.
Hey, Jeff, it is great to be here in Galveston, Texas. I'm your co-host, Mike Flores, with the Energy Tech Podcast, right here on the floor in Galveston at the Galveston Convention Center with another great guest here at ENTELEC 2026, Mr. Stewart McCone. Stuart, great to have you here on the show.
Nice to see you guys. Good to be here.
Yes, we're excited. You know, you did just come off the stage. I did get some feedback from other folks that your presentations have been off the chart. It's been really well, so it's going to be good to talk with you.
Sure.
You know, Stuart, just for the sake of who you are and what you do, I want you to introduce yourself and then talk about the space that you're in right now.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. My name's Stewart McCone, CEO, founder of VideoSoft. I've been in the kind of video game for 25, 30 years, focusing on very harsh environment delivery of real-time video, okay?
Yeah.
So we're here at ENTELEC, fast forward a few years now, to bring our technology to this market. We've had a very, very big success with one of the major midstream players here, and we're building on that success now and inviting other people to understand what our technology can do for them.
Yes, and so Stuart, you mentioned this. You've been doing this for well over 20 years at least.
Yep.
So what kind of pulled you into what we're going to call harsh or ultra low band video, right? For critical operations, there had to be some sort of moment that pushed you to that. What was that?
Yeah, so it was a realization of a technology that existed that we had the vision and the foresight to jump on, and since that point in time, we've gone through evolutions and optimizations and experience and a very deep understanding and knowledge of that technology now.
Yeah.
That we've accumulated over that period of time.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you this. So, you got involved, you were doing this, but I'm interested in, there had to be a moment for you, not because everyone always has their moments. You know, if here in the U.S., I hold moments like 9/11 or pre or post COVID, right? There's always that moment. What was that for you, man?
Yeah, I think it was the more recently it was the proliferation of the whole IoT marketplace opening up. You know? That was the real catalyst. There's been a few catalysts throughout the history, like 3G, 4G, 5G, digital, etc. But the IoT era burst onto the scene, and that was a real catalyst that made us focus on this.
So when, let's just say like a pipeline SCADA engineer or someone in operations here at ENTELEC, when they come and they say, what do you actually do? How do you explain VideoSoft? How do you put that to that type of end user or someone that's here on the floor?
Yeah, good question, because we have multiple use cases of the technology, and this particular focus is about managing and controlling video bandwidth consumption on limited or expensive network connections. Right. That resonates with this audience, right? Because they have that problem.
Yes, and so combined with that, I think is, of course, latency is always the big issue.
Yep.
Everything has to continue to run its critical infrastructure.
You got it.
Right? And so there's also the tackling of terrain, right? Terrain is always another topic that comes up. So talk to me about VideoSoft directly and some of those things that you target and the product says we have answers to that.
Yeah, okay. So the common factor is limited or expensive bit rate that you don't want to use,
right,
or you want to control the consumption thereof.
Right.
So our technology is designed to offer all the operational facilities and features that you would wish for, but working in that video limited environment. Which, there's a lot of video product out there, but they're not focused on this problem.
Right.
VideoSoft is specifically designed to solve that issue.
No, I think you're right. And, just kind of understanding what VideoSoft does, let me give you a scenario. So the Energy Tech Podcast, we also are part of Offsite Energy, and we have a critical 24/7 control center that runs and never shuts down in Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania. So we serve oil and gas customers.
Yep.
We serve energy, data center, NOC, water, wastewater. So you have customers that all believe our assets are critical.
Yep.
and you might have a myriad number of video systems.
Yep.
So you have one that's at the local level for the plant. You have another one that is brought back to the control room. And so where does VideoSoft fit in for that type of operational output where you know that you're going to be working at plant level and then you're taking that data back to a 24/7 control center that's integrated with the operation?
Sure. Well, there's a few features of the product that address that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first is the highly efficient video compression. Okay. So we're compressing the video before it hits the network.
Yes.
Then we have bespoke protocols that deliver that in real time, very, very low latency and reliable for mission critical applications, exactly as you just described. And then that capability is integrated so it can dovetail into existing operational platforms.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got that. And so let me ask you this, because this is the question that's going to come up all the time, no matter what part of the industry you're in. Talk to me about two things: complexity and cybersecurity.
Yeah, okay. So complexity, you can have a very capable system, but if it's complex and difficult to use, it's kind of going to get left on the shelf. So it's a big focus to make sure that you encapsulate all the complexity of the product to a very simple and reliable interface.
Yes.
And it just works. It just works is a very...
Not quite a plug and play, but you would say,
Correct,
hey, we can bring this into a critical op and we know, hey, this is going to work. It's simple.
That's right. And our philosophy is it's got to be simple. Multiple use cases dictate that. And also it's got to work and reliably. So we have a kind of phrase that said, once you deploy a VideoSoft system and commission it, you never have to touch it again, okay?
Yeah.
It's hands-off, automated, mission-critical stuff. Your next question was the complexity and then the cybersecurity, which is really important. Obviously, network operators and network administrators have their own techniques, but built into the VideoSoft platform is also encryption, AES-256 encryption, TLS, FIPS 1.4-2 compliance, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Great. So that's good to know. So let's focus on one thing here I want to talk about, and that is, tell me where this kind of fits in, because we talked about complexity, we talked about cybersecurity. Talk to me about where this fits in terms of an architecture, a telecom architecture. Where does VideoSoft fit into that? Yeah.
So it's kind of a bit flexible. But the basic premise is wherever you have that bandwidth limited network, VideoSoft sits before the video hits that network. So in a distributed environment on a telco or a satcom network, we're out there with the camera.
Yes.
Okay, so we take the video from the camera, we recompress it, repurpose it, recapsulate that before it hits that network.
So what you're saying, what I'm understanding this, and this might be simple, but what you're talking about in terms of protocols and the size of, let's just even talk about packets and compression.
Exactly.
You're really talking about a thread going through a straw. Is that fair? Is that a best way to put it? You're compressing this thing.
Yep.
And when you're doing that, if that's correct, tell me what someone can expect operationally, because what I understand, if you do that, that means that if I'm using VideoSoft and looking at video operationally, this may mean I can see something small, but I can pick something up bigger if I wanted to zoom in or take a look at something. Is that fair?
Yeah, you got all that. I mean, the straw analogy is a good one. We're pushing that thread through the straw. The hose pipe's another one. We're making sure the water gets through quickly.
Yes.
And we're not flooding the hose pipe. And our techniques in the software enable you to do all those operational things you want to do in that low bandwidth environment, which will not work unless you have this capability deployed. So yeah, that's kind of what
Great.
we're doing.
So I'm gonna touch on something in a little bit, but before I do that, and I ask a lot of guests, but right now I want you to kind of walk us through an example of where right now operators are using VideoSoft, and it's real important. I mean, it doesn't have to be energy, oil, and gas. I mean, that's great. I think you're here for that. But the energy tech touches audiences in oil and gas, water, wastewater, any of those critical environments we talked about, mining, all kinds. So kind of give me a few examples where VideoSoft fit the bill, and here's why.
Yeah, okay. So I mentioned multiple use cases previously, and the era of IoT is upon us. which means there are many, many different demands for this kind of technology now.
Right.
We have kind of 3 or 4 main verticals that we focus on. Defense and military is one of them. Aviation and drones, of course, is an obvious use case for our technology.
Right.
And in the utilities, oil and gas, energy sector, we have multiple offshore oil delivery systems. But importantly, the big news for this market right here is we're just rolling out a 3,000 camera system for one of the biggest midstream companies in the U.S., which is Enterprise Products, right? So they are
they're huge.
actively using this across their entire national distributed asset network.
Yeah. Wow. So that's good to know. That is pretty big because Enterprise is not a little player when it comes to that.
No, and
especially oil and gas.
the history of how we got here and where we are is really interesting for the customers. But for us, of course, it's validation of what we have in a big way. So it's not just a sales pitch; it's actually real life deployments.
Yeah. So integrated with that, does that fit into you talk about Firelight a little bit? I think that's part of your software stack that's included with that, right?
That's right. Yeah. Firelight's kind of the platform name that we kind of give it as a generic.
Yeah, it's just
name.
Okay, so that's your product line, and you would say you mentioned earlier those are bespoke protocols that you use, right? Is that leveraged in there?
Yeah, that's right. So we use some kind of how do you say off the shelf stuff.
Sure.
But there's a lot of bespoke development around that technology to make it to deliver the services that we offer. So,
got it.
And that's where our USP, experience, knowledge, etc., comes in to develop that.
Yeah. Wow. Let me ask you this, because what happens is, so you have folks like Enterprise, you have midstream producers, upstream, exploration and production, and Stuart, sometimes their venture into other things. Here's what I mean. They may venture into the deployment of drones as part of their operational makeup and their mix. Yep. So they're not just focused on pipeline compression or fleets. What they're looking at is something that you also have worked in, have talked a lot about in previous, let's say, articles and things, and that's BVLOS. So I'd like for you to talk a minute about that and about drones and about low bandwidth video, if you don't mind. I think that's a great piece to talk about, because operators are deploying that for both the quality of air quality. They're also doing this for leak detection. They're doing this for surveillance at plant levels and across pipeline.
Exactly. So as I said before, there are multiple use cases for the same technology, but basically BVLOS, or beyond visual line of sight applications from a drone. Basically, you're sending that drone over the horizon to a remote location, and you want to see real-time video from that drone.
Right.
Typically, we're running over SATCOM or radio links, and it's all about the bandwidth again. So being able to fly further, for example, because as you fly further away from the radio, the bandwidth drops.
Right.
But if you can keep operating the video, then you can fly further. So we're extending the envelope of operation of these drones. And sometimes you don't have enough bandwidth for anything else to work. You have no option. It's VideoSoft or nothing, right?
So what I'm hearing from you is that the performance of VideoSoft is resilient even when you have legacy platforms in place. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct, yeah.
So,
and congested environments, denied environments, all that.
So the thread through the straw remains
correct
as part of your overall makeup, regardless if you're using VSAT, if you're using other technologies that are out there.
You got it. And a mix of all three, right? Wireless, cellular, SATCOM. That combination, that thread through the straw is omnipresent in all those situations.
Yes.
So that's what we're trying to achieve.
Wow. And, Stuart, I want to ask you this, because I think no one leaves without discussing this. Usually with video systems, everyone's addressing AI and machine learning at the edge, even with data, even with video.
Yeah.
Right? There are lots of unstructured data in video. How do you feel that right now, VideoSoft is either working with that, or you're saying, Mike, you know what? Our focus is this one area. Great, you can do what you can, but our target is creating that low latency thread through the straw product.
Yeah, well, the two things go absolutely hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
So the AI, the analytics at the edge are doing the intelligence for detection of a situation.
Yes.
What happens then?
Right.
That's when the thread through the straw comes in, because we enable that capability on the edge to be integrated into the control and operations of a company
Right.
by putting that thread through the straw.
Yes.
Okay, so we can connect the edge to the center
Yes.
and make that all operational.
Wow. So let me ask you this as we continue down that path.
Sure.
Do you have clients right now that are addressing AI and machine learning and pairing that with your product and saying, hey, look, up front, we just want to let you know this is part of our path. And along with cyber, I know cybersecurity is always one, but do you feel like that's starting to pop up a lot more with your clients?
100%. You know, we're adding more AI to our platform. We're also working with other AI providers because they're focused on a specific analytic, right?
Yes.
And they're not really considering what happens after the detection event.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that's where putting the two things together, the object detection, the situational detection is done by the analytic. We take the notification and then we do the thread through the straw to get that video and real-time data back to who needs to see it.
Yes.
Okay. And the harsher the environment, the network environment, means the higher the value of VideoSoft, because that straw gets very, very small, very thin.
So let me ask you this: I want a couple more things, because we'll come to a close here in a few minutes. But
Sure.
before I do that, Stuart, as a founder, you have some things that I'm sure you always look back. You look forward a lot, but you look back. If you're looking back right now with the advent of AI and machine learning, what are some of the challenges that you think, man, we are going to start addressing that? If you had to look back in hindsight, as a founder right now, is there something where you say, man, this is something we need to consider over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, 100%. And that is, along with our philosophy of being very efficient and making the use of what small resources you have on the network, it's automation.
Yes.
Okay. So you don't have to interact with the system. It just tells you what's happened, gives you the information, you log on and you see it all right in front of you. That's automating the connection between all these systems.
Yes.
So the AI, the network transmission, the back-end processes, it's gluing all that together.
Yes.
Like I said to you before, it just works.
Yeah.
That's the motto.
Yeah. So you said it just works, right? If I'm a producer in West Texas, or I'm someone that does have that critical operation, how does someone onboard with you guys? How do they work with you? Is it, okay, great, because anyone can go to a website and pull information, but tell me about, hey, Mike, when we look at a customer, we look at the entire journey. There's got to be some steps or a philosophy that you have that you've imparted to the team.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a very good point. The product is only one part of the equation here.
Right.
The people and the support and how you work with your customers is incredibly valuable and important. So we have a very dedicated team, a very strong team that will talk to the customer, lead them through the process. A lot of our technology has been developed, like you said before, the complexity.
Yes.
It's been wrapped up in a very simple to use platform. So often it's a 30-minute task to get this up and running. It's not a complex IT job. You don't need specialists. You can run this plug and play almost, like you said.
Yes.
So it's getting them to that point where we can say, okay, let's just run a POC, improve this stuff,
I was just about to ask you that. It sounds to me like your team specializes in taking that POC, leveraging that integration, and saying it just works.
Correct. Give us the problem. If you've got the problem, great. I'm smiling because I know we can fix that, and very easily and very quickly. So, yeah, you got it. We take them to that place very quickly.
So final question, Stuart, what is the future look like for VideoSoft? What are some of the challenges coming up that you're seeing right now? Forget AI, machine learning. I'm just talking about critical infrastructure, terrain, all those things.
Yeah, keeping up with the demand, I think.
Yeah.
That's scaling the business to meet all these use cases and demands is the challenge I've got as a founder and a business owner. The technology is there to be used.
Yeah.
So it's how we match that up to the use case and the customers. That's a job.
Stuart, I think even with customers we serve, I think it would be great to get with you and talk about what we're going to call a POC unboxing of what you're doing in the field.
Yeah.
I think that would be great, because I don't think, even from the podcast perspective, I think that would be great to push and see, you know, a real deployment. And with that, it's great to have you. I think, man, I got even more stuff, but we've got a time here, and I really appreciate it. Again, Mr. Stewart McCone with VideoSoft here. This was a great episode. Thank you so much. I'm your co-host, Mike Flores, with the Energy Tech Podcast. You can catch the booth here at ENTELEC 2026. I'm your co-host, Mike Flores.